Welcome to Tech Updates number 7. So this is for the week of February 1st. So basically what I've been working on and learning the last week and a half or so. And so let's jump into it. So here's the written version, and I'm recording, and I'll put the video version into it later, which you'll see. So on to the fun stuff. So what am I working on? I'm working on learning my way through all the skills, the workflows, and the hooks of Pi, which is a personal AI infrastructure. It's Daniel Miessler's GitHub project. It's pretty cool. And I've had it up and running about a week. I've been doing a lot of cool stuff with it. It's really cool scaffolding to put on top of Claude Code. And right before I started recording this, I was like, you know what? I could maybe see if I can do a better version of the thumbnails for the YouTube video than what I do in Canva for all of 5 minutes. So I said, hey, why don't we try the art skills, which I've never tried before, and let's create a cool, futuristic, cyberpunk, Blade Runner type looking YouTube thumbnail. Here's the article, the draft we're working on, and here's a previous edition for reference, and make sure the dimensions are for YouTube thumbnails. And so it went and pulled my draft I'm working on, the previous edition. It observed, did some research on my stuff. It did the analysis here and says, hey, he wants to shift from his clean style to something more cinematic and cyberpunk. Kind of defines that. It creates a plan to go and do it. And then it goes and gets the art skills. It says it loads art skill. Let me look for customization. It reads into that. It does the essay workflow. That's kind of cool. I didn't know it was going to do that. Kind of defines what I don't want, what it thinks I don't want. That's pretty cool. So it says workflow user guidance takes priority, and Derek's guidance is very clear. Cyberpunk, Blade Runner, Neon, that kind of fun stuff. YouTube thumbnail dimensions. So let me use this. It says, hey, let's try Nano Banana Pro. Let me create a really cool prompt, and then let's try to do it. And it says, okay, hey, our tools here support it. And it throws an error. Oops. Oh, I don't have an API key for that setup. So it says, let me check for some other API keys. And it starts checking a bunch of other ones. And it says, hey, I got this all created for you, but you don't have an API key for Nano Banana, Flux, or Replicate, or GPT Image 1, which I actually do have an API key for that one. I just haven't put it into the .env file. It says you've only got the 11 Labs API in here. So, and obviously a voice is not going to make a cool graphic. But it said, hey, here's the prompt. You can go use this and go try it directly on some of these platforms and see what you get. And so, well, when there's the cool voice output, my DA Alice said, hey, the image generation is blocked. No API is configured for any model. The prompt is ready to use manually. And so I went and tried it on a couple places and see what they came up with. So Gemini, I don't know if it was using Nano Banana or not. I'm still on the free version of Gemini. It came up with this, which looks kind of cool, but it still does not seem to... Gemini has trouble getting the dimensions correct. But I like the idea of it, the cool neon, the graphics, the computer stuff, the Blade Runner city looking stuff, cyberpunk. ChatGPT came up with this one, which looks kind of cool. We got Docker, some brain mapping, bunch of code going on over here, some more code, a lot of the same themes. We're at a desk, we got coffee, we got server racks of gear and stuff over here. It's pretty cool. I went to go try Nano Banana itself, see if I could get a trial, and that just crashed. And then Grok gave me 2 images. It came up with this one, which looks very similar to the other 2, with a desk with like 18 monitors and the neon and the lights. And then it also gave me another version, which is just kind of more spread out and stuff. So I think I will probably use this ChatGPT one or this Grok one, and I will put it on as the thumbnail for the YouTube video, which I thought was pretty cool. So that's just an example of playing with Pi and what it can do. I've actually been using it to do a lot of different things, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So what else am I researching? I'm researching and testing which open source tools I want to add to my services for consulting. I'm looking to get some of my InfoSec consulting back up and going. I'm also, like everybody else on X, researching OpenClaw and getting ready to maybe play with that. I'm just trying to think if I should put it in a VM or dig up an old laptop to put it on or something. And I've been talking with a buddy, and he just got it set up on a spare machine. And so just reading all the fun, silly stories and the horror stories online to see what you get. And then I'm also doing more research into agentic coding for AI agents, and then just working to build more workflows and sub agents. So when I want AI to do something for me, it saves me context and sends it out into different agents. Things I want to research coming up. I want to work on marketing strategy for a project. Marketing and sales is something I struggle with when it comes to stuff like this. I'm very good at all the infrastructure. I'll build all the systems and the connectors and the platforms and the accounts. And I love building all that kind of stuff. And then when it comes time to sell the cool product I've designed, I kind of struggle with that. So I'm looking to use AI to help kind of round out some of those gaps in my skill set and put out some more content or consumable purchases, things for purchase, stuff like that. I am getting ready to build some more virtual machines. So I'm going to start recording some more demos to put on YouTube of different software and stuff. And then I'm also going to help me put out more content blogs and videos for various projects. Commands that I want to remember: systemctl -- user list units type service. I forgot about this when I was looking for a service I knew was running on my box, and I kept looking through all the systemctl commands, and it was showing me all the system services, and I forgot that there was user services that were separate. So once I found that command, I got right to the service I was looking for to make sure it was running and the logging I was doing. So improvements. I got Pi 2.4 installed. I think it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I had installed it before 2.3 came out, and I broke some stuff, and so I ripped it all out. I even ripped Claude Code completely out and reinstalled Claude Code and reinstalled Pi on top of that. And I got my directory structure corrected from the first time I did it, so a lot of the semi-hard-coded paths in Pi are working correctly. I worked on the status line, so a lot of things in the status line, which is the really cool terminal thing at the bottom of the Claude Code prompt. It tells you all that cool stuff like, hey, here's my location, all my skills, how much context I've got, all the ratings, the memory, all that fun stuff. A lot of those numbers were showing up blank for me, and that was because of a difference between how Mac and Linux interpret the flags and output from sed. And so I got that corrected, and then it's working. I got the voice server working, which is just a systemd service. I got dictation working, which was actually more challenging on Linux than it should be. I wanted to get WhisperFlow working like I see on Windows and Mac. And eventually I tried, NerdGeek or something like that was a dictation program, and I couldn't get it to work with Whisper. And so I ended up going with VoxD with the Whisper CPP open source stuff. And so I've got that working, and that runs down here in my tray, and it's got it set to a hotkey in KDE. And so I can hit it, record dictation, and then stop it, and it fills in whatever prompt I'm in. And that's quite handy because I'm learning that I can voice dictate way faster than I can type, even as a fast typer. So that's really cool. One of the coolest things I got done this last few days is I got all the configs, my project folders, and all the user directories from Pi and all of my own personal projects. I got them all set up as Git repos. And then I wrote a custom agent in Claude /Pi to push all my Git changes on the /exit. So whenever I exit, it goes and pushes all of my updates that I've done over to my private Gitea server. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, which I have running in my home lab server. Let's see, what else do we do? I got one of my websites updated via Alice. I had to rewrite a whole bunch of HTML and have a nice theme in CSS, and that was pretty cool and fun to do. I also created some templates of documents for business stuff, and I got a directory full of 18 new documents that I can use and start building from there. I fixed some SSH credentials in some of my scripts, specifically my Docker backup script. And then I got my SSH keys and aliases for remote administration and home lab automation all cleaned up and organized. They were getting a little messy, and so I got those all cleaned up and working the way I want. And then, I got that bash script written. It updates my Docker containers across 3 machines, which is nice. I already mentioned, Gitea, private Git server in my home lab. And then I moved a bunch of my projects from GitHub over to Gitea. So just felt a little bit more secure just in case. And I like the idea that I've got it in my server and all backed up the way I like. Mistakes. What did we learn this last 2 weeks? Token usage management. Sometimes Claude, if you don't prompt it right, and I said, hey, go look in this project folder for this. And it started opening like 15 tools to go look for projects all over the place. And I was like, stop, look in the project directory in the directory we're in. This is where we always put our project stuff. Write that down. You don't need to keep opening up 15 tools and wasting tons of tokens while we're just searching high and low all over my hard drive for stuff when it's in the same place every time. So, and then also only being on the pro plan, realizing that, I got a cool idea. And then if it spawned 3 or 4 or 5 sub agents, that it'll eat up your context windows pretty quick. And so sometimes I have to slow down and pause on a day or two to make sure my weekly token management doesn't get all eaten up on Monday. So mine resets on Saturday night, and I'm already at 22% on Monday night. So we'll slow down on Wednesday, Thursday this week, and then pick back up on the weekend for some fun stuff. And the other thing was organizing projects ideas. So don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. For a while, maybe half a day, I was stuck trying to think of how could I organize this project? What can I name it? How do I want the directory structure to be? And I probably wasted a ton of time just on what is the good way to do that. And instead I finally just say, okay, I'm just making a project folder and then putting a couple folders in it and starting, and then I'll just revamp as needed as I go. And so it was much quicker once I got that done and started going. And that was the key thing to remember. Just start going. You can fix it up as you go. So that's going to do it for this week's tech update. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys in the next one.